Hi, good morning. So why do neural networks don't get cold? They can just add another layer to it. That was a deep learning joke, and now you know why I don't have a career in stand-up comedy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Adnan Masood. I'm the Chief Architect for AI and Machine Learning at UST Global. It's early in the morning, so I hope you guys had your beverage of your choice. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and so I'm seriously jet-lagged. And if I fell asleep during this talk, please wake me up. I'll return the favor. I have my notes here, so that's good. So I'll read through things. Usually my talks have a lot of code involved in it, and in this there are PowerPoint slides, so I apologize for that in advance. Also, if you see the term AI thrown around a lot, this is essentially in the context of cognitive automation and automation-related AI. As I said, my name is Adnan Masood, and I'm the Chief Architect for AI and Machine Learning, the company which is a premium platinum sponsor for this event. We serve the most demanding customers in the 25 countries. Some of them are here in the audience, and you can come and talk to us after that in the booth to know more about UST Global. A little bit about myself. I work as a visiting scholar along with the UST's as a chief architect at Stanford University. So my job is at the intersection of academia and industry. And I'm also an MVP for Microsoft. MVP stands for Most Valuable Professional, not the other MVP. And I've written a few books, including the AI Playbook for Microsoft, which you can download for free from Microsoft website. You can come and get the signed copies of my latest book on cognitive computing recipes, but I'll give the copies only to the people who ask me really nice questions after the talk. So contrary to the popular belief, I am not building an army of robots. Today, I would like to talk about the intelligent components, how they lead to autonomous operations. TLDR stands for too long didn't read. So if at any point you snooze during my talk, that's the three key elements I'm going to talk about today. First is, what is automation on steroids? The second one is, what are the AI trends in automation? And the third one is, what is the message from trenches? And that's where I'll conclude. So I once had an argument with a gentleman who said, adding cognitive in front of RPA does not make it intelligent. So I asked him, what does? What makes it intelligent? Right? Like cognitive computing and autonomous operations, AI is one of those ominous terms which no one quite understands how to define. The reason is that it's a constantly moving target. And that's why it's hard to define what artificial intelligence essentially is. And yesterday we heard some things about AI and machine learning. But today, I'll ask you this question. John McCarthy put it really well. As soon as it works, no one calls it AI anymore. Does it sound real to you? Isn't that the truest statement? So there is actually an effect called the AI effect. So every time we figure out a piece of how it works, then we start calling it computation. We stop calling it artificial intelligence. The magic just goes away, right? So AI is whatever hasn't been done yet. So I'm sure within cognitive automation and other areas, you have seen the same AI effect. You've seen this happening where every time you figure out a piece of how the computation works, then it's like, oh, it's just computation. What's the AI component to that? So let me ask you this. Would you consider that AI now? These are rhetorical questions you don't have to answer. Right? It's not necessarily AI anymore because this is a traversal of a large search tree. But back in the day, it was considered artificial intelligence. It was like the pinnacle of artificial intelligence. But we know that computers can win chess, but cannot touch the chess pieces. How about Watson winning $1 million? I don't know what poor Watson has to do to get recognized. Honestly, at this point, I really feel bad for him. Maybe the curing cancer would help. That was a dark inside joke. So, but all games aside, if you think about what we think AI today, if you think about AlphaGo, that is AI. We recognize this as artificial intelligence. The reason why we recognize this as artificial intelligence is because This is not us telling computer how to play a game, but rather computer learning how humans play a game, watching tons and tons of those games, and then based on that, it recognize those patterns and be able to tell you what are the best strategies in the game are, and eventually beat the grandmaster of Go. Everybody have been following the AlphaGo progress, right? So think about this. In learning from human behavior is what makes something intelligent. And if you see this approach, it is being applied to a variety of different places. Like, for example, reinforcement learning is being used in different games of the arcade games, and to see how humans play that specific game, learn from that, and then actually adopt and move on. And has anyone played the game of bricks where you have the Pong, when you actually have the ball goes and hits the bricks? So computer actually figures out that if I create a little small hole at the top bar, the top brick, and to throw the ball in there, it's going to bounce up and down and then do that. I mean, this is really optimization, right? It learns from how humans play the game, and then from there optimizes their strategy. So why can't we apply the same approach to business processes? Because business processes are not much different than, not playing game, but as in the process of a repeatable approach of how we see in our process logs and our processes as they go through the entire ecosystem of the environment of an organization, how that can actually be used to transfer that information over. Now, in order to get these processes mined, you need multiple intelligent components to work with multiple modalities. Let's call them building blocks for artificial intelligence. So these are some of the building blocks for AI which are necessary for you to be able to build and create enterprise AI. And this is exactly the type of automation which Dr. Andrew Ng, the father of the modern deep learning, calls automation on steroids. So I would just read his quote. If you are trying to understand AI's near-time impact, don't think sentience, think automation on steroids. So as you see, having these components, as I showed earlier, and applying them to automation techniques is going to bring you this term automation on steroids. In order to achieve this, UST Global has built a platform called Smart Ops, this automation on steroids. So Smart Ops is an AI-powered intelligent operations platform built with the pillars of automation, knowledge management, intelligent monitoring, and autonomous operations. So at this point, I'll show you a brief video of how these things combine together, and if you can please cue in the video here.
Businesses are evolving faster than ever, and to stay competitive, you need to focus on your highest impact priorities. But that can be difficult with the backlogs of data, internal processes, and endless administrative tasks. Many companies seek products to solve this challenge, but a one-size-fits-all technology solution doesn't account for the uniqueness of every business. At UST Smart Ops, we realize that technology needs to solve your specific challenges and requires a platform that is designed to impact your business. We combine our strategic business expertise with a best-in-class combination of knowledge management, automation, and AI to unlock your company's human ingenuity. By reimagining your business operations, we empower your people to focus on the opportunities with the highest impact potential. We begin with Smart Start, a customized assessment that uncovers your business's potential opportunities for automation and optimization. Next, our AI-led technology learns your processes and decisioning framework, mapping how each piece of your business is connected and developing hypotheses on how to make your operations more efficient. Our platform then mimics learned decision patterns to execute processes at optimal speed and accuracy, and begins to suggest revenue-driving insights for your business. The UST Smart Ops personalized approach and industry-leading AI technology allows for continuous monitoring to ensure that your overall business improvement is ongoing. We have delivered measurable business outcomes within 90 days and reduced operational costs for global companies by 30% within the first year. We move quickly so you can grow your company. Because when it comes to your business, there is no greater advantage than focus and empowering the ingenuity of your workforce. Go to ustsmartops.ai to learn how Smart Ops can advance your business.
All right. I really like how there were a bunch of people scribbling on the whiteboard. I don't know if you noticed that. There's a bunch of you arguing in that. That's the quality of the stock photography here. So I really like this idea of using multiple different components, and that's the reality of the situation. When you don't have like a one silver bullet, a large system which is going to provide AGI or artificial general intelligence, but rather have bunch of different components, as we discussed, to come together to build a solution. So most recently, we have built an intelligent search solution for a large healthcare organization. And it used about 15 of those 32 capabilities I spoke about earlier. That included cognitive search, content summarization, and some of the NLP techniques which come through. One of the key things I would like to mention here is the connection of industry with academia has never been important as it has been now, because the cutting edge research is now coming directly from academia and being used today in the industry. For example, for content summarization, for transcription, for questioning and answering, it's almost magical. If you look at the machine comprehension techniques now, you can throw a document at an algorithm and ask questions. It's insane how powerful that is. It uses this concept of attention networks where you can just take a PDF and ask questions about it. But just based on, like, you don't even have to tell synonyms and things. It's very, you can tell I'm really passionate about this kind of research. But this is being done today in the Stanford University by Dr. Chris Manning and his group. So the content summarization, cognitive search, please look it up, and that will tell you a part of this. So during our journey towards cognitive automation, we have conversations with business leaders, of course, and we see a recurring theme of questions. So for example, one of them you probably have heard a lot, that I have built 10 POCs and I have no hope any of them will put it into production. Then we have how do we automate some of our business functions more effectively? Right now there are a lot of manual processes, how we can apply autonomous operations, concepts to business processes, and I really like to read my PowerPoint slides. No. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but along with these questions, we observe that organizations face these three challenges here, right? So these three categories of challenges. One is that they don't know what the right problems are. The second one is they don't know how to do it. And the third one is they don't trust how the solutions are being built. So as I make my segue into the cognitive trends, and I'm going to talk about them, what the cognitive trends which are coming in from academia and seeping into industry, and we are seeing them more and more. I'm happy to report that we have addressed most of these concerns as part of what we have built in Smart Ops. And how do we seamlessly build these things, making them a part of the applications? So enterprise software companies build these seamless AI into applications. And the message here is that you see these components built today as part of your AI and machine learning stack, and these become a part of your application so organically that you don't even feel that this is AI anymore. Then again, going back to that AI effect, that even though these cognitive components provide automation to your workflow, these they don't stand out as artificial intelligence. So things like suggestion of next steps, natural language generation, root cause analysis, data cleaning, these are all these different components which are seamlessly, organically become a part of your build. So during the course of this journey with the Smart Ops, we have come across some key enterprise AI trends, and which I would like to share with you here. I've summed them up here in two different categories. The first one is measure what matters, AI lifecycle management, and the second one is getting better with intelligence. So in measure what matters, we will talk about the machine learning operations lifecycle. We'll talk about ethical and interpretable AI, and then we'll talk about automated machine learning. And in getting better with intelligence, we'll talk about GANs, or generative adversarial networks, transfer learning, reinforcement learning, and augmented intelligence. These are some things which are really prominent in industry right now. Most of the research is coming from academia. So I would like you to see, due to the interest of time, I can't really discuss this in detail, otherwise it will be a day-long workshop. But that's something which I really emphasize on looking through as you go through your journey in automation. Now, academia to industry, the pipeline, that's one of the key things over here. I work closely with Stanford and MIT both, and we see a lot of research comes through from industry to some academia to industry. And the successful way of doing this is not to give a university a problem for you to solve. That rarely works. You need somebody as an execution partner who can actually work with a university, with a researcher, because researchers are focused mostly on research problems. They are not going to solve an ERP problem for you or a SharePoint problem for you. They will work on focusing on solving a problem related to research. So how do you take that research problem and apply it to industry depends on your business use case and how you are going to apply one of those case studies over. The first and foremost, we will talk about the first trend, which is MLOps, or machine learning operations. So most of these trends, which I'm going to talk about, are part of all major suites, automation suites, and Smart Ops is also addressing most of these as it's part of its core offering. Machine learning operations, as it says here, is think of it as DevOps for machine learning. So machine learning models needs to get deployed. So today's production deployment techniques are generally one-off, and data scientists and data engineers often lack the skills to deploy these models and operationalize these models. Application integration, model monitoring, tuning, workflow automation are often become afterthoughts. So like DevOps for applications, businesses are seeking solutions to help deploy models at scale. AI, as you probably know, is the most used workflow on the planet. So it's the highest workload. I think the second is probably blockchain. Bitcoin. But there are other challenges in this area. For example, you have configuration, data collection, feature extraction. So MLOps is not just one thing. It's a collection of all of these different components together. And to address that, you have a whole life cycle. It's an iterative life cycle of preparation of data, monitoring of data, modeling, evaluation, deployment. So this needs to get addressed as part of an automation strategy. And you will see a typical life cycle includes all of these components. So managing these components effectively via tools and technologies nowadays, for example, a Kubeflow and Selden Core is something which should become a part of your automation strategy. Now, I mentioned Kubeflow. There's another tool called MLflow, and it came directly out of Stanford University. And it's something which is built by Matthias Zaharia, who is a Stanford scholar, and he's also one of the co-founders of Spark. All right, the second trend is ethical and interpretable AI. So that's another one of the major trends which is unfolding across the enterprise. And machine learning and AI solutions need to be easily explained and understood by all stakeholders, from data scientists to executives. It makes them easy to deploy with confidence. This is not possible with today's black box models. For banking executives, it would incur a huge fine if they turn around and say, hey, I denied you loan because algorithm said so. Right? That would be pretty terrible. Or I'm going to do surgery on you because algorithm said so. So that's why whenever you're automating any of those processes, it's important to follow the notion of responsible AI. So ethical AI interpretability leads to the notion of responsible AI, which is safe, auditable, and transparent. So as domains like healthcare and finance start using AI, the concern about compliance, accountability, and transparency are particularly important. If you are unable to properly deliver these explainability and eventually the interpretability, we are limiting a huge potential of using AI as part of automation. Now, there are various frameworks out there which formulate and quantify ethical AI. One of them is Microsoft AI Principle of Fairness. Being a Microsoft MVP, I get paid every time I mention Microsoft principles here. But these are good principles of fairness, accountability, transparency, and ethics. And as I'm talking to more CXOs, they are more and more interested in applying ethical and interpretable AI. So that's one of the trends we are following very closely, and that's a part of explainable AI is a part of our Smart Ops offering. Going with the democratization of AI theme, another one of the trends we are seeing is automated machine learning. And like I said, explainable AI is also coming from a SAFE initiative within Stanford University. Automated machine learning is essentially to automate a large parts of the machine learning workflow, like training and tuning, models, algorithm selection, feature engineering. All of these components become automated as part of the automated machine learning. It essentially provides you a suite of machine learning capabilities where you can apply these models to create high quality models right out of the box. So the demand for machine learning experts, as you probably know, has outpaced the supply. They are pretty expensive. And to address this gap, there has been big strides in the development of user-friendly machine learning algorithms. With AutoML capabilities, non-experts can be used to use this trend in financial institutions and other places where it's hard to find experts in that area, and then you can apply automated machine learning to ease the burden and the workload for these. There's some indications in the market that automated machine learning increases productivity by 1,000%. That's something from Forrester research about automated machine learning as a trend. Along with democratization of AI, another one of the growing trend we are seeing is generative adversarial network, or GANs. So GANs are very interesting. The way GAN work is there are two opposing networks. One is called generative network, and the other one is called adversarial network. And the generative network generates dummy data or fake data, and the adversarial network has to do the classification to figure out whether that data follows that distribution or not. And you are like, so what's the use case for that? It is really useful for like data generation, augmentation, privacy preservation, discriminative modeling, domain adoption, adversarial training. These are some of the use cases which are used in businesses. So for example, the companies which need to create test data without compromising their production data sets. Right? That becomes a great use case. So GANs are especially useful in detecting fraudulent behavior, suspicious transaction, and early detection and prevention of cyber crimes and outliers. So now going to the same theme of democratization of AI, I realize there's a lot of content here, but these are really good trends I wanted to sum up here. Going with the same theme of getting better with machine learning, transfer learning and the use of pre-built models is also an emerging trend I see in the industry coming from academia. Transfer learning reduces the effort of building a model from scratch by using the base algorithm within one domain and applying to another. So for example, if you train a language model on a specific domain, you can then use it in some subdomains associated with that. Think of it as train once, run anywhere model, and then you can help speed up the business process. So another emerging trend in this space is reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning is a semi-supervised learning model which allow agents to take action and interact with the environment. All right. So the way it works is that some of the use cases for reinforcement learning includes like computer clustering, management of the computer clusters, personalized recommendation, dynamic system configuration, A/B multivariate testing, anything in which you need an intelligent loop of understanding and learning. So there is also this human in the loop element in the reward function. So this is the reward function, which essentially identifies what you need to do and how to improve upon it. And one of the current use cases is we are working on is a top auto manufacturer to optimize a control process within its engine so that it can adaptively maintain peak performance. So how do you make an engine to adaptively maintain peak performance, or predictive maintenance use case? Or HVAC optimization for temperature control while minimizing energy use is another one of the use cases. So last but not the least part of this is augmented intelligence. And I think this is something which you all are very familiar with. Augmented intelligence is, think about it as these are some of the use cases I'll talk about, but from contract analysis to training a conversational UI, augmented intelligence has a variety of applications, including language modeling, speech recognition, caption generation, machine translation, document summarization, questioning, answering. Our augmented intelligence offering includes modern text mining algorithms like XLNet or BERT or Elmo. These are not just Sesame Street characters. These are algorithms. These are text mining algorithms, BERT and Elmo, and XLNet, BiDAF. And these algorithms allow you to do very effective machine comprehension. So some of the use cases for augmented intelligence are like, for example, claim examiners, how you enable and accelerate their examination process. How do you help financial advisors understand the summary of the document? How you can allow people to ask questions from the documents and wikis. So these are some of the key areas in that. And last but not least, I would just like to say that deep learning techniques are definitely helping us today in improving all of that. So it's always a computer vision or NLP or image analysis. Deep learning techniques are definitely helping. So these are essentially a part of the automation strategy for every growing organization who's dealing with any of the NLP-related use cases or computer vision-related use cases. So now I would like to conclude that I have given you a huge homework to now go home and look up all these techniques. In conclusion, this is something which one of the deep learning luminaries has said, that evolutionary will not be supervised, as in supervised learning. So unsupervised learning is the way to go. So if you can take one thing from this talk, make sure that unsupervised learning is the way to go. Rule-based automation is no longer relevant, right? Continuous learning is the way forward. The second thing is that automation is a team sport. It is the business units, technology groups, research teams, all of them working together in interest of business outcomes. So providing business outcomes, and that's the key message over here, that all of the small components of the smart ops you saw essentially are targeted towards providing you a cohesive business outcome. So I hope that you agree that AI today has effectively changed your business. We are getting better, faster, and more powerful. Today, your company, your clients, the business units must be pursuing a variety of these different techniques. So for example, you might be planning to build your AI enablement, you're trying to buy it, or you're trying to do both. This is a survey done by some of the stakeholders and decision makers who were making automation strategy decisions. So you build, buy, or both, but I'd like to implore you to make sure that you evaluate for these capabilities as part of your buying process. Whether you use smart ops or not, make sure that you have these capabilities as part of your automation strategy. Because the things I've shown you earlier as a part of the trends, you see those are the things which you would need as part of your automation strategy. That's something which you will see coming from academia, and you will see that actually happening today, and you will need those machine learning operations lifecycle and interpretability and all the growing trends as a part of your future. So I would like to conclude over here, and thank you very much for listening. And if there are any questions, I'll take questions now. Thank you.
Quick question here, just based on what you were mentioning about ethical utilization of AI. Do you think that there is a large risk with where AI functionality is now being offered in almost a dumbed down version for consumer and business, that people don't truly understand what machine learning has learned, and that there's inherently going to be bias introduced into an organization when using AI functionality that's not truly understood? Do you think that's a risk that's going to expose itself?
So if I understand the question correctly, the question was around the bias which is induced as a part of a data set, or it's become a part of the organization, and people are not really aware of that within the organization, so they don't know about this. That's a very valid question, and we can talk about it in detail. This is one of the biggest challenges, I think, for the future. We always think that terminators are the biggest challenges we have, but I think ethical AI and bias is one of the biggest challenges. So today, if you look for what a software engineer looks like, it will be, if you train on today's data set from LinkedIn, it's probably somebody from 25 to 35-year-old, lives in the Bay Area, male, Caucasian, and that has so many bias. There's a gender bias, that has bunch of other biases associated with it, the geographic bias. So these things seep into the data because data comes from real world, but there are techniques out there such as to take those minority samplings out of that and then make that data more representative and take the like gender bias or race bias and other things out of it. And that is a huge challenge. So organizations, first of all, like you said, are recognizing their own shortcoming in terms of having bias-driven data, and then identifying those protected classes in that data set. And also looking at how it impacts the algorithm. Because, for example, in some cases, it's probably, it's not even legal to discriminate based on all those different features. So yes, so data cleanup, the bias detection is a key part of the ethical AI. And that, I think, is one of the key things here is that AI is making us more human by making us think about what's human about us. And thinking with bias is a human process. And taking that bias out is what AI enables us to do. Yes.
What would you say to those who are skeptics among the executives who, when you approach them for funding for ML, they say, oh, why don't you drain RPA opportunities first and come back to us a year from now or sometime in the future?
See the light? So the question here is, I'll repeat for the audience, is that what do you say to the skeptics who you talk about cognitive automation to them and they tell you to just join the RPA project and come next year for the cognitive automation? I think that's just like a pioneer gets arrows, right, in the back. So that's just a typical trend which will happen. You can show the power of automation by showing some fascinating things. So for example, I'll give you a hint. There's a thing called Ellen NLP. Ellen, A-L-L-E-N, Ellen. So it's built by the founder of Microsoft. Ellen NLP, look at their demos. Look at how powerful NLP has become to be able to answer questions based on just text documents, just like raw text. You haven't trained anything. You have already a pre-trained model, and you can use that to actually do a Q&A based on it. You can do machine comprehension on that. So if you show the real world working examples of these powerful techniques of AI and machine learning, then you may get more traction. One more point is Andrew Ng has done this 5 different things to look for when you're starting an AI project. And those are, I think, really important. One of them is like, don't do things in the silo. One of them is actually create something which has business value. So instead of creating something which is like just a fancy, small science project style POC, build something which means something for the business. So then if you build it in your, for example, spare time and then showcase it to them, a cognitive services output, you have more traction to gain that capacity. So it's, again, like it's like anything new, it takes a little bit of time to gain trust and momentum from people. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great session.